Let me start off by saying that my second daughter is going to be born in just a couple days. And as I ruminate on the thought of being a father for the second time, I ask myself what kind of world my child is going to be coming into. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Is it going to be right? Is it going to be just? Is it going to be wrong? Is it going to be evil? Honestly, it's going to be a mix of all those things all the time. But it always feels like things are shifting towards the worst, especially when we see a headline like this. El Paso Mall shooting, at least 19 people dead, 40 injured, suspect in custody. At Walmart responding here on Twitter saying, we're praying for the victims and the community and our associates, as well as the first responders. You haven't heard yet. There's been a mass shooting with many casualties in El Paso. At least 19 people are dead and 40 injured after a shooting Saturday near a shopping mall in El Paso, Texas. Law enforcement officials said one suspect, a 21-year-old man from the Dallas area, is in custody. Multiple law enforcement sources say police have identified the suspect as Patrick Crusius. A second person was also taken into custody by authorities, but it is not immediately known what role, if any, that person played. A second person was also taken into custody by authorities, but it is not immediately known what role, if any, that person played in the shooting. Sources familiar to the investigation told NBC. And this is him. This is Patrick Crusius of Dallas. Drove all the way to El Paso, which is not a short drive. Not a short drive at all. He just turned 21 years old last week, and he is now going to be behind bars for the rest of his life, without a doubt, for the deaths of 19 people and injuring several others in a very senseless act of violence. Here's why he chose the location where he did, in case you were wondering. The Cielo Vista Mall. The Cielo Vista Mall has historically been a shopping destination for people across the border with Mexico. Often the parking lots have had many cars with Mexican plates, although the crackdown at the border has cut down on some of that consumer traffic. The shooting occurred in the Walmart and around the area of the adjacent mall. So this guy, Patrick, douchebag, cocknozzle, motherfucker, piece of shit. I mean, there's a ton of words I can use here. Let's just cocknozzle seems to be a good one. Drove all the way from Dallas to El Paso to a mall that has been a historic shopping destination for people across the border with Mexico. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that if you believe this document. This is the manifesto. At least this is what's being passed around as the manifesto. Roughly 5 pages detailing Patrick's entire reasoning for his plan and detailing his motives behind the assault. Although there's currently an attempt right now to discredit this manifesto, Ian Miles Chung here on Twitter writes, you may have heard that the manifesto of the El Paso shooter is a hoax. Well, if it is, why was it posted and credited to the shooter hours before the shooting? We can see here an 8chan thread where the guy is talking about it. He says, fuck this, it's going to be so shit, but I can't wait any longer. Do your part and spread this, brothers. Of course, you only spread it if the attack is successful. I know the media is going to try to frame me incorrectly, but y'all will know the truth. I'm probably going to die today. Keep up the good fight. Someone responding back with hello FBI, saying F my L, nervous as hell. This is the actual manifesto. Fuck, this is going to be so shit, but I can't wait any longer. And of course, he just kind of repeats it. I don't quite know if this is real or fake. The y'all is something that he put inside the manifesto, and some of the language here feels very similar to what I read. So take it with a grain of salt. But right now, the FBI is actively investigating the manifesto, and like the Christchurch shooter, it will probably be deemed real. So the question becomes, who is this guy? Who is Patrick Crusius? I mean, we have one real terrible, what appears to be a LinkedIn photo right here, and then just a very blurry image of him in the back of a cop car. Doesn't tell us much. In fact, interestingly enough, his social media accounts have been deleted. It says here he was a student at Plano Senior High School in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. His about says, I'm not really motivated to do anything more than what's necessary to get by. Working in general sucks, but I guess a career in software development suits me. I spend about 8 hours a day on the computer, so that counts towards technology experience, I guess. Pretty much just going to see what technology careers present themselves to me. Go with the wind. Interesting, isn't it? Where he doesn't like working, doesn't want, thinks he'll just do software development, and he spends a lot of time on the computer and potentially posts on 8chan. I think as people dive into who this person was, we're going to discover that he spent a lot of time on 8chan or 4chan or any of those other maybe deep web boards. I don't think that would be out of the question at this point, considering this, his manifesto, titled The Inconvenient Truth. Now, I'm not going to read all of this, just snippets of it that I find to be pertinent, because his motivations need to be known. His motivations need to be talked about, not because they need to be glorified, but because they need to be mocked, ridiculed, disseminated, destroyed, burned, torched, killed. Fuck it. Like, they need to be nuked from orbit, hit with the fire of 1,000 angry gods, that kind of thing. Because this is terrible. But this was written potentially by the shooter. He says, in general, I support the Christchurch shooter and his manifesto. This attack is a response to the Hispanic invasion of Texas. They are instigators, not me. I am simply defending my country from the cultural and ethnic replacement brought on by an invasion. Some people will think this statement is hypocritical because of the nearly complete ethnic and cultural destruction brought to the Native Americans by our European ancestors, but this just reinforces my point. The natives didn't take on the invasion of Europeans seriously, and now what's left is a shadow of what was. My motives for this attack are not at all personal. Actually, the Hispanic community was not my target before I read The Great Replacement. This manifesto will cover the political and economic reasons behind the attack, my gear, my expectations of what response this will generate, and my personal motivation and thoughts. I'm not going to lie here, guys. It sounds like this was written by an edgy teenager. And to be fair, this kid just turned 21 a couple weeks ago, so he probably is still in that mindset of being an edgy-ass teenager. But it doesn't get any better than this. Here he lists his political reasons. In short, America is rotting from the inside out, and peaceful means to stop this seem to be nearly impossible. The inconvenient truth is that our leaders, both Democrat and Republican, have been failing us for decades. They are either complacent or involved in one of the biggest betrayals of the American public in our history. Yikes. The takeover of the United States government is by unchecked corporations. I could write a 10-page essay on the damage these corporations have caused, but here is what's important. Due to the death of the baby boomers, the increasingly anti-immigrant rhetoric of the right, and the ever-increasing Hispanic population, America will soon become a one-party state. The Democrat Party will own America, and they know it. I don't know how true that is. I think that's not the case at all. I think there's 320 million people that have varying political beliefs, and not all Hispanics are Democrat. Some are Republican, some are Libertarian. This is such just a one-sided, angry approach. The kind of crap, you think of when you're 20, 21 years old, when you leave high school and you got that chip on your shoulder and you think you're the fucking king of the world. You think you know it all. And you know what? I get it. I was the same way. Nowhere near as crazy as this motherfucker, but you think you know everything. The truth of the matter is you don't know shit. You never knew shit. And the older you get, you still don't know shit, but life's an experience, a collection of experiences meant to help you know shit. This kid fucking read the Christchurch shooter manifesto and thought, yeah, that's a good idea. No, I guarantee you, I guarantee you this kid, because that's what he's a fucking kid. He's a kid. Is this going to be propped up by assholes on the right that are going to want to use this for some kind of, segregationist meaning. Anyway, he talks about the economic reasons here, saying, in short, immigration can only be detrimental to the future of America. It's kind of funny because actually it's been the opposite. Continued immigration will make one of the biggest issues of our time, automation, so much worse. Some sources say that in under 2 decades, half of American jobs will be lost to it. Of course, some people will be retrained, but most will not. So it makes no sense to keep on letting millions of illegal or legal immigrants flood into the United States and to keep tens of millions that are already here. Invaders who also have close to the high birth rate of all ethnicities in America. In the future, America will have to initiate a basic universal income to prevent widespread poverty and civil unrest as people lose their jobs. Joblessness in itself is a source of civil unrest. The less dependence on a government welfare system, the better. The lower the unemployment rate, the better. Achieving ambitious social projects like universal healthcare and UBI would become far more likely to succeed if tens of millions of dependents are removed. Calls them invaders, says they should be removed. Look, where have we heard this before? Where have you heard a politician say invaders and go back and leave and what they bring? This person may not claim to be right wing, but he's about as right wing as they get based upon this manifesto. He tries to sprinkle in Democrats here as a way to kind of deflect. But no Democrat I know, no Democrat out there would do what this guy did. Moving on. So this is another passage here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I just picked out a couple passages. It says, even though migrants do the dirty work, their kids typically don't. They want to live the American dream, which is why they get college degrees and fill higher paying skilled positions. But isn't that the American dream for all immigrants? My mother is an immigrant. I'm the son of an immigrant. I'm the first generation of in this country for my family. And yet, I have a college degree and I work a job that I love. Am I the problem? Oh no, I'm white. I'm white. According to my DNA results, I'm 100% European. So, according to this dumb shit, stupid asshole, I'm part of the problem too, because that's not as big of a problem. Anyway, recently the Senate under a Republican administration has greatly increased the number of foreign workers that will take American jobs. Remember that both Democrats and Republicans support immigration and work visas. Corporations need to keep replenishing the labor pool for both skilled and unskilled jobs to keep wages down. Now that is a standard argument that gets made. And this is the big problem with what this guy wrote. Mixed into this completely isolationist, white supremacist rhetoric are arguments that can be piecemealed out, can be nuggeted out, and used as a defense of his actions, which is wrong across the damn board. But here's where it gets interesting. He says, so automation is a good thing as it will eliminate the need for new migrants to fill unskilled jobs that Americans can survive on anyway. Automation can and would replace millions of low-skilled jobs if immigrants were deported. Notice how he keeps talking about automation. And he mentioned previously the universal basic income. Just keep that in mind for a second. It goes on to say, it used to be that a high school degree was worth something. Now a bachelor's degree is what's recommended to be competitive in the job market. The cost of college degrees have exploded as their value has plummeted. This has led to a generation of indebted, overqualified students feeling menial, low-paying, and unfulfilling jobs. And he's not wrong in that. There has been a devalue. Again, this is the problem. He has written, or whoever wrote this, because it's allegedly this guy, has taken nuggets of it and wrapped it around his racist rhetoric and his viewpoints. And that does so much to justify his actions with certain people. And it's going to be used as a way to justify actions. And that is wrong. But I could be wrong in thinking that this guy happens to be a Trump supporter. I could be wrong in assuming that. Because, again, automation, UBI, these are things that Yang has been talking about, Andrew Yang. And when he talks about colleges, looking over here at the Yang 2020 website, problems to be solved. Education debt has exploded to near unstoppable levels. Millions of young people owe tens of thousands of dollars in debt and face an uncertain financial future. Entire generations will have difficulty advancing professionally, starting families, buying homes and vehicles, and fueling the next level of economic growth due to high debt loads. There is low accountability for educational institutions that benefit from public financing, while providing graduates very little in the way of real opportunities. Lenders have little incentive to work with those in debt since bankruptcy does not eliminate student loan debt. Now, Yang, 100% is on point here. But you can see the twisting of the argument. You can see the twisting that Patrick here did and what he's attempting to do. And that, my friends, is the scariest thing of it all. The 19 dead, 100% terrible. People who are wounded, children who lost their parents, parents who lost their kids. Nothing will replace that. Nothing will take that away. Take that pain away. Nothing will ever bring them back 100%. And that is wrong that it happened. But this manifesto is probably one of the most frightening things I've ever read because of how he's framing these arguments. He's framing them not to appeal to rational, logical individuals. He is framing them to appeal to people who he deems American patriots, because that comes up quite a bit. Now, he talks about the reaction of this event, what he believes will be the case, and which is I hope doesn't happen. I don't want him to win. I don't want him to have one iota of advancement of this fucking ideology. Saying statistically, millions of migrants have returned to their home countries to reunite with the family they had lost contact with when they moved to America. They come here as economic immigrants, not for asylum reasons. This is an encouraging sign to the Hispanic population is willing to return to their home countries if given the right incentive, an incentive that myself and many other patriotic Americans will provide. This will remove the threat of the Hispanic voting bloc, which will make up for the loss of millions of baby boomers. This will also make the elites that run corporations realize it is not in their interest to continue to piss off Americans. Corporate America doesn't need to be destroyed, but it needs to be shown that they're on the wrong side of history, that if they don't bend, they will break. I mean, you can just see the arguments he's wrapping in there. This is the incentive. This is what they're going to, this is going to be the outcome of this. That these people are going to run, that they're going to flee because me and patriotic Americans are going to take an AK-47 to a Walmart and gun them down. That is what he wants, but he's wrapping in an argument that's going to appeal to several people out there who are going to read that and go, yeah, that's a good idea. People who don't know any better, who don't understand, who do not understand because they're young, because they don't get it yet. Like I said at the beginning of this, life is a series of experiences that is meant to guide you to better understanding and a greater authority on subjects, having experienced them or things like them. This kid was just turned 21. What is literally the most exciting experience in his life? He went to a strip club in Dallas, went to Pandora's, got a handy from one of the strippers, came in his pants, and that's it? Potentially. What I mean by that is not a lot of life experiences at that age. None that would push him towards this path without there being some kind of indoctrination. Who knows where that came from, though? Because this is where we get a little bit of that idea. My ideology has not changed for several years. My opinions on automation, immigration, and the rest predate Trump and his campaign for president. I'm putting this here because some people will blame the president or certain presidential candidates for the attack. This is not the case. I know that the media will probably call me a white supremacist anyway and blame Trump's rhetoric. The media is infamous for fake news. Their reaction for this attack will likely just confirm it. And it's that line. It's that line right there, that logic line. Well, this is my defense. This is my fucking defense. No, they're going to blame, it's all fake news. They're going to blame this. They're going to blame that. They're going to do all these things. It's a defense. It's one of those defenses where someone's doing something shitty and they start off by saying, yeah, I've done something shitty. What are you going to do about it? Right. And you're like, I can't call, you've already admitted to doing something shitty. So I guess I can't complain. In my experiences, that's a right-wing attack. That's a right-wing tactic right there. Calling it fake news, saying, oh no, it's fake news to blame Trump's rhetoric for this. It's fake news. My opinions on automation and immigration and the rest of everything predates Trump campaign. So that's what, 2015? He would have been 17 years old? What the fuck does a 17-year-old know about immigration, automation, and everything else like this? No, explain that to me. What the fuck does a 17-year-old know about any of this? Nothing. He doesn't know a goddamn thing about it. Whatever news he gets, whatever opinions he has, is coming from another source. Based upon where this particular manifesto was posted, it's pretty easy to see that fucking source. And if he's going back to 2015 and he's going back to 8chan in 2015, that was when it first got its first big push after the fall of 2014 during the mass Gamergate exodus from 4chan to 8chan is one of the things that put 8chan on the fucking map. I'm not going to lie. I'd be very interested to see what this fucking idiot's YouTube subscription feed is like, because I could probably list off a couple channels. That's not to say that anyone is guilty of anything. That's simply to point out that Patrick Crusius here doesn't even look like the same fucking guy. It really doesn't. I don't know. This could be wrong. But this is him. This is what we saw today. Black V-neck, khaki pants, dressed like Blackwater. If you notice that, right? He's dressed like a Blackwater operative, complete with the headphones, with the earmuffs, the earplugs that protect from the sound. Because for a person who says he might die today, he sure made sure that his hearing was intact. Now, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? This wasn't a fucking patsy. This was a fucking psychopath. And again, who knows where he got this information from? Now, this is clearly an editorial. I'm giving you my opinions on this. But this is the tweet from Trump. Terrible shooting. Reports are very bad. Many killed. Working with Senate, local authorities, and law enforcement. Spoke to governor to pledge total support of federal government. God be with you all. Now, I am glad that Trump made that claim. But when I talk about the scenario, looking at the manifesto, when you look at the words he says and the language that he uses, and he tries to say that it predates the president, it's a hard one. Because even just coming over to Google and typing in Donald Trump comments on Mexico or Donald Trump insults Mexico, you can see that he's been doing this for years. And so an impressionable teenager who has interesting opinions, who hangs out on 8chan, it's possible that he became radicalized on there. I don't know for certain. I'm sure they'll deny it. I'm sure that they will argue against it, but we can argue here that this person's idea, his thought process, was influenced by someone somewhere. "19 people are dead. This kid's alive. And you know, I'm glad. I'm glad he's alive. I'm glad that he is 21, looks to be in reasonably good health, and he will have to spend the rest of his days behind closed doors, behind bars, whisked away from society, never to be thought about or spoken of again. And the saddest thing is, in just a couple weeks, people are going to stop talking about it. Because that's what we do. As a country, when something like this happens, we compartmentalize. We move on. 19 people are dead. Targeted because of their ethnicity by a 21-year-old edgy boy from the internet who is trying to mask his racism and his white nationalism in a manifesto that reads like something you would find on 4chan or 8chan. Today's a dark day in America. An absolute dark day in America. If you want to leave your thoughts, I'm curious to hear them. If I missed anything or got anything wrong, let me know. I compiled this together the best that I could. Stuff is still breaking. We'll still wait to see. This video is not monetized, in case you're wondering. And I will talk to you guys later. We are better as a country than this chucklefuck. And I think we all know it. The question then becomes, how do we fucking show it?